Well, good evening and welcome to the Dialogue KE tonight. I do hope you are well from wherever you are watching. Now, we do understand that the embattled member of, or rather embattled Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is currently defending himself. Well, Gachagua has gone before time to defend himself in public, yet just a couple of hours remaining before his impeachment motion is discussed in Parliament. Well, what does it mean? Many are asking themselves on the socials, does the public really matter right now, or does the Parliament matter, since it is the one mandated to listen and decide his fate? Well, we are all waiting to see how that will turn out tomorrow, but right now, let's cross over to Karen, his official residence, where he is currently addressing the press.
Please, my friends, I don't want to become enemies with you. When you are given such silly messages, don't bring them to me. I have no intention. I cannot resign. I did not give myself this job. I was given by the people of Kenya. I've done nothing wrong against the people of Kenya whatsoever. I've worked hard. I've been very loyal to my boss, President William Ruto. Worked hard every day. And I will not be distracted. I think there's one issue I've forgotten, one ground. The issue of the shareholding, isn't it? Even you guys can remind me if there's one issue that I have not dealt with. Can somebody there give me my notes on shareholding? Yeah, I have them here. That's okay. Yeah, this is an important one. Yeah, there are several. I had not, there are a few silly ones. There's one that I'm conniving with cartels in the tea sector to block ATDA from implementing guaranteed minimum returns that would benefit small traders. The allegation is not true. No evidence whatsoever has been adduced to substantiate this claim. As far as I know, I've successfully completed my mandate, which was assigned to me by the President, which culminated into creating synergy between people who had taken KTDA to court and suspended the operation of the Tea Act. As a result, the Tea Act now is in operation. The President never mandated me to take over the affairs of the Ministry of Agriculture. He asked me to spearhead tea reforms. I did the tea conference in Kericho, brought all the stakeholders together, and as a result, I created a synergy among all the stakeholders, and we agreed that those people who had gone to court withdraw the cases, and now the Tea Act is operational, and that will see meaningful reforms. As to claims that I have stopped the selling of tea in Mombasa, there is no evidence to that effect, and I want to call upon the Honorable Mutuse to provide that evidence. Again, in matters coffee, I was given a job by the President to initiate coffee reforms, which I have done successfully. I held a coffee conference in Meru for 3 days in 2023. For the last 2 years, I have been working with stakeholders, including members of Parliament and the Senate, which has culminated into 2 bills: the Coffee Bill 2023 and the Cooperative Bill 2023. These 2 bills, the Coffee Bill 2023, will see the reintroduction of the Coffee Board of Kenya that will market coffee for farmers without putting profit. We have also recommended the reintroduction of the Coffee Research Foundation or the Coffee Research Institute in Roiro to work on better varieties and drought-resistant crops. Through my efforts, again, I have completed my work. The 2 bills are before the National Assembly. I call upon members of the National Assembly immediately after the impeachment process to embark on these 2 bills and see them to fruition so that farmers can enjoy the work we have done in coffee reforms. I have seen another absurd, that I have taken control of our local cooperative society in Madera constituency where I was a member of parliament. This is false. I should be told which society by name, because I know all the societies, I know all the farmers by name. It's really ridiculous. Again, there is no evidence, there is nothing. It's just trying to spoil my name before the people of Madera who elected me as their member of parliament. On the issues of shareholding, I think this matter has been discussed for a long time, and I think it's good tonight I put it in proper perspective. I wish to state that the allegation is equally false. None of my family members, allies, or associates are in control of any cooperative society in Madera. That one I had done. In shareholding by virtue of the provisions of the 3rd schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of Kenya Kwanza Coalition entered into various agreements which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. 16.2, the following were members, parties of Kenya Kwanza: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PAR, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, the Service Party, Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, Umoja na Maendeleo Party of Kenya, and the Democratic Party of Kenya. In accordance with provisions of Clause 3E of Schedule 5 of the Political Parties Act, each of the agreements contained in a power-sharing development agenda for certain regions in Kenya. I attach here copies of the said agreement. I'll give you the Kenya Kwanza agreement so that you know when I talk about shareholding, I'm not talking about Kenyans, I'm talking about this agreement that was signed by President William Ruto and almost everybody else on how power will be shared. I've never talked about sharing resources. I have been talking about power sharing for people to get what they deserve in sharing power in accordance with this agreement. Like, for example, in an agreement between UDA, ANC, and Ford Kenya, the UDA would nominate the president and the deputy presidential candidates, which has happened. I got my share, although I have no share certificate. The president would guarantee the stature, dignity, financial, and operational autonomy of those of the deputy president. It's in the agreement. The office of the deputy president will be allowed specific duties identified at Article 21 of the agreement. ANC will be allocated a position of prime cabinet secretary to be established within 14 days. It was given to Musalia. The office of the deputy president, Ford Kenya will be allocated the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, which was given to Moses Wetangula. In accord with Article 2.1 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC and Ford Kenya would have a 30% share of national government positions. So, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the Honorable Wetangula, and the people of Western, please don't condemn Rigathi Gachagua. The agreement is here, defining your share in the government. It is not me. I did not sign this document. It was signed by Musalia, Wetangula, and President William Ruto. So when I say about this share thing in terms of positions, I've never talked about resources, about development. Although it is also here, is that regions bargained with the president for shares. Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula bargained for 30% of shares within the Kenya Kwanza government
although they were also supposed to give us 70% of the vote, which they did not. Nevertheless, since they gave a certain vote, they are still entitled to some share one way or another. So it is not Rigathi Gachagua who said that a government is like a company. It is the agreement of the Kenya Kwanza, which I will be tabling in the National Assembly. It is not me.
It went ahead to say it. He said ANC and Ford Kenya would have 30% share of national government positions. That is cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, high commissioners, ambassadors, diplomatic and consular representatives, chairpersons of state corporations, directors of state corporations, chairpersons and commissions of constitutional commissions, provided the 30% share is to be shared equally between the ANC and Ford Kenya. Sasa mimi nikiambia watu wafuate share yao, makosa yangu ni gani? Iko hapa. I did not sign. They went ahead. Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula, and they must follow these things. Because I will not follow for them, because I was not party to the Western Agreement. The agreements were with regions. So when people say I'm dividing regions, I'm simply following the Kenya Kwanza Agreement of the way it was debated. They went ahead and said, Article 22 of Sharing Agreement set out a list of priority projects which Kenya Kwanza would endeavor to fulfill in the ANC and Ford Kenya strongholds of Western Kenya between 2022 to 2027 on a priority basis. Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula signed a package for Western Kenya. I've never had anybody call them tribalist, but they signed an agreement demanding for Western Kenya. They demanded, and it was agreed it will be done, completion of all incomplete or stored bitumen roads, construction of an extra 1,000 kilometers of bitumen in Western Kenya, revival and modernization of sugar factories in Western Kenya, establishment of new industries identified in Article 22 of the agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kenya Kwanza Agreement on shareholding. What crime has Rigathi Gachagua committed to be impeached by saying what President William Ruto appended his signature to, with Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula who will preside over my impeachment? What crime has this man committed? The crime of this man is just being truthful, because people do not want these things to be known. That is a problem. People have a problem that I'm a truthful man. The people of Western Kenya has now known today what their leader signed with President William Ruto. It is upon them to demand their share as per this agreement. I did not sign this agreement. I will read the people who signed. But because I was present and I'm a truthful man, I fight for the people of Western Kenya. Power sharing agreement between Kenya Kwanza and PAR of Amason Kingi. I want to give two examples. Yeah? In accord with Article 8 of the agreement, PAR would be allocated the position of the Speaker of the Senate. He negotiated for himself. Let's be truthful. You brought this motion. We'll discuss. The people of Kenya must know the truth, so that if Rigathi Gachagua is being crucified for being truthful, let the people of Kenya know why he is being crucified. How can Moses Wetangula say I should be impeached because of saying people to get their shares, when he is a signatory to a share agreement with the president on what will go to Western Kenya, and then they accuse me of tribalism? They did not say anything should go to Central or Mount Kenya. They talked about Western. When I say something for Mountain, I'm a tribalist. Kingi said, position of Speaker, you are mepewa. Per Article 9A of the Power Sharing Agreement, POWER would nominate the candidate for appointment of one principal secretary when Kenya Kwanza came to power. Wamepewa. For Article 9B, the Power Sharing Agreement, Kenya Kwanza and POWER would agree on what share of national government positions, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, high commissioners, ambassadors, diplomatic and consular representatives, chairpersons, state corporations, etc., etc. Power sharing agreement, that is a word, so that nobody should ever again in this country ever accuse me of talking of shares. It is not me. It is my boss, President William Ruto, who appended his signature with other leaders that Kenya is like a company of shares. It is not me. And he signed the agreements. Sharing Kenya is here, it's being shared. True or false? True or false? They have shared the Speaker, they have shared the Senate, they have shared Deputy President, they have shared the President. That's what I've been saying. And then I'm being told that I'm dividing the country along ethnic lines. I did not append this signature. I'm just being truthful. That is my crime. People want these things to be hidden so that they pretend to be nationalistic and say Rigathi Gachagua is tribal. But the people who append these signatures are the ones who should explain why they were signing things for their regions only. Yet they say they are national leaders. Power sharing agreement between the Kenya Kwanza coalition on one part and the Communist Party nini. So, Service Party, at least I saw Chama cha Kazi. They say the party leader should get something. Moses Kuria was given something. The Service Party of Mwangi Kiujuri got nothing. You know? So, unajua sasa, ile shida iko Kenya hii ni ukora. And people not being truthful. The agreements are here. Like in a Communist Party, they have been making noise. They signed an agreement, they have not seen anybody. Yeah? So, my speeches on the shareholder issue are informed by their aforesaid power sharing covenants, which are founded on law and lessons learned from the well-known disputed 202 NAC power sharing agreement. Further power sharing agreements are a feature of government formation in all democracies in the world that provide the formation of coalitions. My pronouncements on the issue, properly understood, are not only anchored in law, but entirely harmless and incapable of being construed as a basis for ethnic animosity, a danger to national cohesion, or a threat to national unity. On the contrary, coalition building has been one of the most important innovations since the disputed 2007 elections in ensuring stability, equitable sharing of political power, national cohesion, and fostering of national unity. Indeed, Kenya Kwanza's main opponent in the 2022 general election, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, was a political party consisting of 25 or so political parties who also executed a power sharing agreement as required by Schedule 3 of political parties. However, notwithstanding of the said power sharing agreements, upon election as the Deputy President of Kenya, I went out of my way, as required by the Constitution of Kenya, to serve all Kenyans regardless of their political preferences during the election or ethnic origin. I'll produce videos on all those things. Again, my decision to embrace a broad-based government following the decision of the cabinet after the Gen Z protest is that I support coalition building. And even when the Honorable Right Odinga came, he got some shares. True or false? I mean, surely, why is Rigathi Gachagua being vilified by just being truthful? You know, it's good to be truthful. I have heard that my saying we observe this agreement is a threat to national unity. I have never been caught by the National Cohesion and Integration Committee to tell me that I have said something that can create ethnic disharmony.
On the issues of one man, one vote, one shilling, I am told again that it can create tribal hatred. How? The one man, one vote, one shilling is not a formula for Mount Kenya region. Far from it. The one man, one vote, one shilling talks about equity. The gist of that formula is that all Kenyans should be treated equally. If we are giving bursary to the children of Kenya, let us agree how many children we have. If there are 30 million and we have 100 million, we divide equally and distribute to every constituency to those children. If a hospital takes care of 1,000 patients, we decide based on population what is the size of the hospital to be constructed in Roiro, where there are 800,000 people. If one borehole serves 500 people, do you construct one borehole in an area where there are 10,000 people? You need to construct more boreholes. That's all. And these populations are everywhere in Western Kenya, in Kisii, in Rift Valley. The high numbers are not just in the Mount Kenya region. This is a formula, in my view, that is good for everybody. Again, it is not a law because I pronounce myself. It's just an opinion. And in our democracy, I think it's only fair to allow people to have freedom of speech and to be entitled to an opinion. There are those who talk one man, one vote, 1 kilometer, and it is their right. And we should also listen to them and consider. And all those opinions can be harnessed and people can agree which is the best formula to take care of the people of Kenya. That is all I said. I wanted to read to the people, of course, the projects that were negotiated, but I don't seem to have that page. I produce it tomorrow in Parliament. So that when they hear I am fighting, I am also fighting for them. Mine, for the Mount Kenya, and President William Ruto, we never wrote anything. Because I'm a very trusting man. So is my people. As we did word of mouth. So once in a while, we may argue kidogo because there is nothing written. So sometimes it's when people say I'm blackmailing the president. But I'm simply asking, my boss, we agreed the following, can we please do it? We agreed this on that, can we do it? We agreed that the people let's be true to the people of Kenya. That is all. So I want to thank every one of you. And because I've been in Parliament, I don't think it is necessary to have questions. I've been very, very clear on no issues, why I called this a press briefing. I've said I'll be in Parliament tomorrow. I've asked my team to try to give you all the materials so that you can also go and digest. But I think I've prosecuted my case.
Well, that's right there is the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, trying to affirm that he is not ready to resign without proper public participation. He has laughed off the rumors of his resignation. Now that means that tomorrow he will be in Parliament to defend and clear his name from what Mwingi West Member of Parliament Mutuse said that he has evidence that links DP Gachagua to the 5.2 billion worth of wealth he accuses the DP of having accumulated erroneously. Now tonight joining me is Blair Angima, a lawyer and a public interest litigator who will be helping us understand what the DP is likely to face tomorrow and how Tuesday will be in Parliament. What are some of the legal grounds that both members of Parliament will argue from, and how likely will the DP's side tackle the accusations? Well, remember that there are 11 grounds of accusations. I was also to be joined by Faith Ken, a youth and community development advocate, but unfortunately she has not made it to this place right now. But we'll be talking to Blair Angima, who will be helping us understand the perspectives that we expect to come tomorrow in Parliament. Thank you so much, Angima, for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Now, the DP has come out to address the nation.
Yes.
And defend himself,
Yes.
stating that he is ready, his legal team is ready to argue out his case and clear his name tomorrow in Parliament.
Yes.
What do you make of his public address?
First of all, I want to thank our viewers watching back at home.
Mm-hmm.
It is a pleasure to be on this forum, on this studio. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Sammy, for having me tonight.
Karibu.
So the issue of the deputy president, in as far as our democracy is concerned, mm-hmm. we are a budding democracy. Mm-hmm. We are about 60 to 61 years mm-hmm. since independence. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time an impeachment motion has been tabled against the second in command. Mm-hmm. We have seen countless time on the impeachment of governors who are county bosses, but never in the history of Kenya has there been an impeachment against the deputy president. And rightfully so, being that we are a very young democracy, we had a vice president by the name of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga,
yes,
who in his letter to Jomo Kenyatta resigned because he faced no tasks in the office. Mm-hmm. But today we have a deputy president who stands to be impeached on several grounds, mm-hmm. key of them being insubordination,
yes,
bullying, corruption, and outlinely going against the dictates and the wishes of the ruling party, and in as far as I'm concerned, by the President of the Republic of Kenya. Mm. Therefore, it is my remark that the Deputy President has the right to defend himself.
yes,
Every person in Kenya has the right to defend himself. I think the Deputy President chose his legal team, or they have already been chosen, and Senior Counsel Paul Muite will be leading that legal team to hopefully acquit the Deputy President. But what we have right now is a Deputy President who's scampering, a Deputy President who's everywhere, a Deputy President who apologized just a day ago, mm-hmm. and today he is calling aloof and rubbishing the impeachment motion against him. So we have a Deputy President who is apologetic on one hand, but a very reactive Deputy President.
An interesting bit. Many are asking themselves on the socials, does it matter to defend yourself in public or Parliament? With regards to, we are waiting to see, and in a couple of hours,
yes.
less than 24 hours, we shall be seeing his legal team acquitting him, or rather trying to argue the case out. Is he likely? What matters? Is it Parliament or the people right now?
You see, the Deputy President is currently trying to clutch at straws, if I may say so, mm-hmm. because for you to defend yourself against the motion with regards to issuing a public statement that is meant to arouse the emotion of the Kenyan public on the ground.
Yes.
For him to do so and have his political way, the best thing to do is to resign.
Yes.
We have had this chatter of resignation, and he has rightfully so laughed it off a few minutes ago when he was giving his speech. But for you to come out and issue a public defense, sort of wanting to get onto the emotions of the Kenyan, of the regular Kenyan.
Yes.
If tomorrow the National Assembly goes ahead and impeaches or starts to the process of impeachment against the deputy president, and he stands to be impeached, he stands to lose his political career, because once he's impeached, he'll never hold public office, and that will be done.
Yes.
So the issue of wanting to defend yourself in the court of public opinion, right now it's too late, and it will not help him as much. I'd rather he focus with the National Assembly.
That's an interesting bit. Yesterday, during a church service right in Karen,
Yes.
we saw the DP coming out and in almost exact words used by the current president when he was the deputy president.
Yes.
Rigathi Gachagua asked for forgiveness from his boss and also Kenyans,
Yes.
not stating the exact reasons or other issues he is apologizing
Yes.
for. What does that mean? Is it history repeating itself?
I believe history comes a full circle. Secondly, you have a character of a deputy president who is used to, if I may say, blabbering, because he does not pick and choose when to speak and not to speak. Thirdly, the issues he's speaking about are very weighty issues, and the manner he delivers the message to only a particular group of people is very wanting in this country. And therefore, it is by his own nature, being a politician, that he came out to apologize. But we need to ask ourselves as the Kenyan public, was it a genuine apology? If then it was a genuine apology, then this is a man who was at a Damascus moment when he was apologizing in church. And people who tend to apologize are people who tend to have committed wrong, and they want to go ahead of the story and remedy the story. So I believe the deputy president was issuing an apology, and the apology was meant to arouse the high-ranking officials within the UDA party, and in as far as I'm concerned, within the new visitors into the UDA government, that is the Azimio or ODM faction. So his apology was political in nature.
Yes.
And it is barely 48 hours. He's back on the podium defending himself. So we have two very opposite situations, whereby you have a deputy president on one hand apologizing, and 2 days later we have a deputy president who again is defending himself. Which is which?
An interesting bit right there, but we do understand that my colleague Dickens Luvanda is informing me they are almost wrapping up. We shall be joining him in a couple of minutes from now. He will be updating us on the specific point, or rather giving us a summary of basically what the Deputy President was speaking about. But we do understand that tomorrow is the D-Day for Gachagua and his entire legal team to defend him during Parliament. What are some of the legal grounds that you think they will be maximizing on, just with regards to earlier on he stated that there was no proper public participation. From where you sit, can it be a good ground to argue?
From where I sit, the 2010 Constitution, which is the crown norm of this republic, is a document that needs to be watered every day. It is a living document. It is the rule of law. We need to uphold the Constitution, and as much as the National Assembly wanted to uphold public participation as enshrined within the Constitution, I think it came out and did the opposite it was meant to, and it came back to a referendum-like moment whereby the Kenyan on the street was saying, let them go home, both of them. So it was a slogan of Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga, as they said yesterday and the previous day. So if we are to argue that the deputy president, from the deputy president's corner, that public participation was not sufficient, then it will be running amok of the exercises we endured yesterday and the day before yesterday.
That is an interesting bit. By a quick one, we are talking about Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga.
Yes.
It's been a public issue they have been talking about, but in a couple of minutes we shall be joining Dickens Luvanda. Right now I understand that the DP has just concluded the entire conversation, rather presser, right at his current residence. Let's cross over and get an update of basically what has been happening right there.
Naam, soleta kabisa Sammy Adika na kupata moja kwa moja toka makazi ya naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua katika eneo la Karen jijini Nairobi, ambapo naibu wa rais amekwisha zungumza na kujitetea mbele ya umma, mbele ya Wakenya kuhusu madai ambayo basi yako mbele yake katika bunge la kitaifa, madai ya kwamba amehusika na masuala ya ufisadi, masuala ya utovu wa nidhamu, na hata kumkosea heshima rais, na hata pia basi kuhujumu ugatuzi. Naibu Rais Rigathi Gachagua ameweza kujitetea akisema kwamba masuala haya yote basi si kweli, akisema kwamba hiyo kesho Jumanne ataweza kufika mbele ya bunge ili kujitetea, akisema kwamba ana kundi ama timu ya mawakili ambao wako tayari kuweka paruanja yote ambayo basi ameweza kuwekelewa ama kubandikiwa. Naibu Rais akisema kwamba katu hatojiuzulu kama jinsi walivyokuwa wakidania baadhi ya Wakenya ama baadhi ya watu wakimtaka kujiuzulu.
Well, that right there is Dickens Luvanda. Many thanks. We do understand that a lot of movement is happening right now, but thank you for the update. We are waiting indeed to see him tomorrow in Parliament defending his grounds. But we are also having a discussion basically on how tomorrow will look like from the time the motion, they will start debating on the motion, and to the time 5 p.m. when the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is expected now to defend, take a stand and defend himself. Now, a quick one. We do understand that tomorrow is not going to be a day like any other. You've talked about the grounds that the Deputy President legal team will be handling.
Yes.
How about Parliament? What are some of the grounds that, or other weighty issues they might take a look on?
So any impeachment motion is more like a legal motion, in that you have to have the grounds. And the grounds then provide for the charges, if I may say so. And Parliament and the originator of the motion, being Mutuse, really came up with issues that are really touching the core of this country and touch on the responsibilities and duties of the Deputy President. And rightfully so, there are several grounds I'll wish to embark on. Number one, the first ground is on the ground of the Deputy President as a symbol of national unity, being a leader of the entire nation and not just one region. And therefore, you had remarks during his inauguration, post-inauguration, saying that Kenya is like a company and there are people who are shareholders. That then runs amok of the National Integrity Act, whereby we have also the Leadership Act and Chapter 6 of the Constitution, whereby a leader is supposed to watch how he communicates with the general public. That's the first ground on which Parliament tomorrow and the National Assembly will really hammer. The second issue is on the issue of separation of powers. And you have to realize that the doctrine of separation of powers has two legal armpits. There is the horizontal separation of power and the vertical separation of power. For the horizontal separation of power, it includes the three arms of government, National Assembly, executive and the legislature, all on the same level. Whereas the horizontal separation of powers includes the top leadership brass being the national government and the county government. And therefore we have Article 6 of the Constitution, which states that counties are independent from the national government, and every county is headed by a governor. And therefore when you have a deputy president interfering with the running of Nairobi City Council or Nairobi County, then he's in breach of separation of powers and is actively engaging in a leadership sphere where he's not supposed to be in. That's the second issue. The third issue is on the issue of also separation of powers, whereby we had the deputy president instigate that a sitting judge handled his case maliciously. And there are forums and checks and balances to ensure that our judges and our learned judges in courts and magistrates do adhere to the rules of law. And there are situations whereby you might have a bad judge or magistrate, but there are legal steps and procedures to be followed. However, the deputy president just lamented that and never followed it up. And therefore his lamentations were made maliciously because he never followed it up with a petition to the Judicial Service Commission, and therefore he tarnished a good reputation of a judge who was currently sitting. So we have those three main issues which will be categorized as gross violation of the Constitution, because we have Article 160 providing for the judiciary. What is the judiciary? And the judiciary is an arm of government that gets its power from the sovereign people, and whereby you have a deputy president castigating at a judicial officer without proof, then that's a ransom walk to the rule of law and the structure we have of governance in the country. Lastly, we have the issue of insubordination and bullying. I want to speak on the issue of insubordination. We all remember the Maandamano for the Gen Z,
Yes.
which was a revolutionary moment in our country. And the deputy president took within his stride
Yes.
to actually hold a contradicting press statement of the president, that which is not required of him. Secondly, we have the issue within the impeachment motion of him intimidating a junior KEMSA officer to give a proxy company of his the tender. And therefore, we see a deputy president who has his tenterhooks everywhere. They are in the judiciary, they are in the parastatals, they are in the counties, and therefore he is a rogue deputy president from his utterances, from his actions. I do not say he's the only one rogue, because he's just the neck, and you need the head to control the neck, if you get what I'm saying.
Now, tomorrow, there is an issue that actually a couple of minutes Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua addressed, the issue to do with being a shareholder of the government.
Yes.
And he was categorical, and through taking a look at the agreement they had before Ford Kenya and Musalia Mudavadi's party
Yes.
joined together with UDA to form the Kenya Kwanza government. And he was categorical and stated that the Western region is entitled to 30%
Yes.
shares in the government, not in terms of infrastructure shares, but position
Yes.
shares. Now, and just told the people of Western that right now you know the rightful shares you have in the government.
Yes.
He's been accused of spreading the issue to do with shareholding, a government of shareholding.
Yes.
Now, is it a way of him trying to evade what he meant initially, or is it trying to say that now that the broad-based government has diluted the agreement? Because he's been categorically hard saying that we did have it was a signed document
Yes.
by President William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, and Moses Wetangula.
Yes.
He didn't take part in signing, but he is part of it.
Yes.
Now, is he trying to clean himself with regards to the shareholding issue?
So with regards to the shareholding issue, and this has been the Achilles heel with the Kenyan governance system, because for you to get in government or in power, you have to see consolidation from certain regions. And for you to get that popular vote from specific vote-rich regions, you'll need to entice them with various positions. And being a political governance system,
Yes.
it's expected. That's number one. Number two is that the power sharing agreement that was signed by the UDA with Ford and ANC over Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi, we see these are principles of their various parties who are signing on to the agreements, and therefore I don't think it was right for the deputy president to equally sign, and you have a principle within the UDA with the status quo of a president. So that's the second issue. And for him to actually not sign that power sharing agreement has come as a fortune in disguise, because right now he has turned on the whole agreement and is not touching it with a 10-foot pole. And what we have is a deputy president who is really trying to change the narrative. That's the third issue. And when he's trying to change the narrative, he's trying to tell us, why is it that if I advocate for my people, it becomes an issue? Why is it that Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi advocated for their own people to be in government and nobody is pointing a finger at them? And then we have the issue of Amason Kingi with his party, who also was able to get the Speaker of the Senate, and the Deputy President, and I quote him, said that Amason Kingi really negotiated for himself, and therefore if they want to cast a finger at him, then they need to remove the log that's in their eye. So this comes as a full circle moment, because according to my beliefs and analysis, the whole government is rotten to the core. And that begins with the head. You know, when a sack of mangoes starts going bad, it only needs one mango to kickstart the whole chain reaction. And in this scenario, we have a leadership that is in quagmire, a leadership that is in disarray, a leadership that is not working in tandem as we wanted or as we wished for them to work. And therefore, we have begun to see the crack, and the cracks are completely swallowing the UDA government. And we equally have visitors, as I had said earlier. And the moment they onboarded in people from the Orange Democratic Movement, being John Badi, Honorable Joho, you have the leader of majority back then for the National Assembly. These are people who do not have a same manifestation of leadership as the Kenya Kwanza regime. So we are definitely gonna have butting heads. And unfortunately, the butting heads have been within the top brass of the leading political parties, and somehow they have come together to gang up and kick the deputy president out of office. And in doing so, it's not the right thing currently, given the position we are in. It's not of importance. But these are just political squabbles.
An interesting one. Martha Karua today actually categorically stated that we do not need to impeach the deputy president.
Yes.
If it is about going home, they should all go home.
Yes.
Issue number one, based on what some of the reactions that were raised by youth and a number of Kenyans, Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga, the narrative.
Yes.
Then she also categorically stated that these are just unnecessary issues that they are bringing on.
Yes.
Should we focus on issues, development issues affecting Kenyans, the real issues to do with chief challenges? Can the government address that instead of focusing with the devolution?
That's a very good question, Sam, and thank you for that question. I listened to an interview by Spice FM on Barack Muluka, and Barack Muluka, the learned senior, puts it that in Kenya we are led by buccaneers who have parrots on their shoulders. And what I need by buccaneers are the very huge pirates with the very big and shaggy beards and all going on, because that's the political system we are in. We have a political system whereby the buccaneer has a few parrots within the National Assembly, whereby he will instruct a certain parrot or a certain puppet to go table XYZ in Parliament, go table XYZ in Parliament, and wait for the results to come in. This is a clear moment where Kenyans are seeing that the political utterances around election and campaigning time are just noise, because there is also a saying that states that a woman should not believe a naked man. Back then, both of them were naked men, and the Kenyan people were the women, and undoubtedly we were unwitted, and they played a fast one on us. And therefore, if you were to say that all of them are to go home, first of all, it's impossible, because the impeachment motion is against the deputy president and not the president himself.
Yes.
Secondly, the president has troops within the National Assembly and the Senate, and therefore passing an impeachment motion in both houses will be difficult, and therefore we cannot go the kufa makanga kufa dereva. My opinion is we focus on the real issues at hand.
Yes.
We focus on the issue of Adani. We focus on the issue of Shah. We focus on the issue of the new university funding model.
Yes.
We focus on the issue of odious debts. These are far heavier issues to discuss than us running in circles wanting to impeach a deputy president. That is far much better for a Kenyan to receive services, be it healthcare, for a Kenyan university student to receive his financial backing in time. It is important for the Kenyan people to have a strong Kenyan economy, of which currently it's not there. Instead of the government of the day doubling down and wanting to solve the issues of the people, they are running political games left, right, and center, hoping that the time will deplete and will be in campaign mode by 2026.
Yes.
And that's what they are really angling. And it's very difficult for a young democracy like Kenya to grow if after every 3 to 5 years we are on a campaign trail, on a political cycle, and therefore we don't have time for the economy to really grow, because once they get into office, our politicians, our president, our deputy president, they are all on the sunroofs of vehicles politicking every Sunday. When the president or deputy president travels abroad, they usually go and cleanse themselves. They speak very good English. They are very persuasive to the people. They are very humble. They sell a very bright future. But that is just but a deception. If you want to know you are a real politician, wait for Sunday for a funeral. At that time is when they will be bickering all over, and you'll get to know the true colors of your political class. But as it stands right now, we have far much important issues rather than impeachment of the deputy president.
Yeah, and what do you make of President William Ruto's silence with regards to the impeachment motion and everything that has been happening in the country? We haven't seen him that much in public.
Yes.
We've only actually seen him twice this week.
Yes.
Yes.
You see, the president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is a very astute student of politics. In my lifetime, though I'm not that old, I don't think I've seen him lose any political seat. That tells you of his crafting nature, of his deceptive nature. In that, for you to be a politician, you have your seasons. There are the high seasons and there are the low seasons. Unlike the deputy president, who does not have a stopgap with regards to his mouth, The president of this country actually knows how to pick and choose his battles. When we had the Gen Z maandamano, he told his members of parliament to push the bill through parliament, come what, come may. The members of parliament did that. And during the protest, you saw a very different side of the president. And it ended up with him withdrawing the finance bill. That tells you that our president wears many faces. He's not a person who you can wake up and say, my president is of certain principles or certain accords, because he does not have them. He does not have them. Our president is more like a snake who sheds the skin when it's appropriate for him. And right now is a moment like Ishungwa told him, throw away the snake that you're carrying on your hand. It is coming full circle, and the president is quiet. Because when you're quiet and you do not want to intimate at anything, it means you either know something or you want it to play out without your influence.
Now, is the deputy president likely to survive tomorrow?
So,
and if he survives tomorrow or not,
yes,
and the issues are moved to Senate,
yes,
is he likely to survive both houses?
You see, first of all, the Kenyan populace needs to understand how impeachments are being conducted. First of all, impeachment is brought by a member of the National Assembly and supported by a third. Afterwards, it's then supported by 2/3, and it goes the trajectory for its courts within the National Assembly. So for the National Assembly, it's more of politicking. That's why when you heard that the notice of motion to impeach, or the motion to impeach the deputy president, came to the National Assembly and they were voting for it, for every person who voted yes or in favor with the impeachment motion, you could hear chants of patriot. You see, that type of language is a language politicians speak because they want to urge on and get the numbers without getting to know whether or not he's guilty, because they already have taken a political stance. Look at the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula. How can Moses Wetangula preside over an impeachment motion whereby the accusers also accused him of not being a referee, a just referee? We had him in some rally in a village over the weekend saying, together with his deputy Gladys Boss-Sholei, that Rigathi needs to be impeached. Those are people who have already taken their stance. And within the National Assembly, the way it's running currently, being the weakest National Assembly in the history of this country, I'm sure they are Muppets, if you know the definition of a Muppet. And they are being controlled by a higher power, and it's all political. That's what I'm going to say. The second issue is the issue to do with the Senate. The Senate is now the trial house. The Senate can decide to undo what the National Assembly did. And my view was that for Rigathi Gachagua, can he try to focus on defending himself in the Senate? Because that's the trial chamber, and that's the most important bit of it. And in the Senate, you'll have 47 senators. You need 24 of them to swing in your way, and therefore to oust that motion. But currently, we have seen a deputy president who is willing to fight his battles out in the public. I don't know if it's one strategy, because he might decide to fight it as a politician in the public and let the Senate proceedings be handled by his legal team led by senior counsel Paul Muite. Yes.
Interesting. When it comes to the Senate, we'll all get to see how that turns out. But in terms of numbers, does the deputy president have the numbers?
No.
Will it play to his disadvantage?
Definitely, definitely, because you could see the anger that was palpable on the ground during the public participation. It was either he goes home or both of them go home. So according to the public, they have already made up their mind that they don't want this person. But here is the asterisk. We have the members of parliament from the central region. So that will be a tipping point. What if a member of parliament from the central region votes for the impeachment of the deputy president?
Yes.
Will he have a chance to go to the ground and speak to his constituencies, given that the people from the central region in Kenya were anti impeachment of the deputy president? So it gives the deputy president a small wiggle room, but according to my analysis, I do not think he has gotten back into the race.
The numbers.
Yes.
So he most likely will not survive. And
in the National Assembly, I don't think so.
Yes, there are numbers. There are actually statistics that TIFA released earlier in the day, and they're talking about issues like Gachagwa's impeachment polls. 41% across the country support his impeachment, 38% opposed. Then it says Mount Kenya residents, 69% are opposed to the motion, 20% support the motion. In his earlier statement before tonight's address, he had categorically stated that during an interview with some local media stations from the Rift Valley, he said categorically that he has no problem with members of parliament from central region. The people will know how to deal with them. And he said what his people from central are waiting to see is members of parliament from Rift Valley sending him home. So is he trying to say that for those who will support my impeachment from central Kenya, the people will send them home come 2027, and we're also waiting to see if Rift Valley will keep their promise?
You see, all this narrative of speculating on how the members of parliament will vote is a very strenuous exercise. To me, it's an exercise in futility, because as it stands, remember there was the NADCO report. After the NADCO report, there was the Gen Z demonstration. And the president, when he hosted the Gen Z, he said that he will constitute the IEBC. And you see, Kenyans have the right of recall. If the IEBC were in place and the deputy president were to be impeached, and members of central region participate in that impeachment and vote for impeachment of the deputy president, then I will think the deputy president will marshal the troops on the ground to recall their members of parliament. But that being said, there is no IEBC to conduct recall on your member of parliament, so you have to play the long game and hope that by 2027 the general public will indeed send home the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah. But here is a rider. Imagine the deputy president being impeached at the National Assembly and at the Senate. Even if the members from the members of parliament from central region are ousted in 2027, he won't have won anything, because he will have stand to be impeached and he will not hold any public or political office. At least for the member of parliament, someone like Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, even if he's impeached, and the government of the day gets a position back in 2027, you will still see that person in government. Unlike with the deputy president, if his fate is sealed, then it's early retirement for him.
Yeah, but he also categorically said that he's served in the office, so there is no problem. If he's impeached, he will accept and go home. Let me bring you back to the issue to do with IEBC.
Yes.
You've just said that members of parliament can be dealt with. That is, if the people feel like they're not contented with their work and their decision. That is, if they will impeach Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
Now, do you think from where you sit and from how you've been observing our country after the Gen Z protests, President William Ruto promised that IEBC will be constituted. Right now, we don't have the IEBC. And what can the people do? Because we don't have the IEBC. There is no election board. Is it a strategy?
You see, when you look at it from a political angle, it's strategic. Look at the previous regime of His Excellency, former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
He waited till the last minute to appoint the Cherera 4. That was also a strategic move. And currently, it is a strategic move by the top brass in government not to select commissioners to the IEBC. Why or what is the motive to that? I might not have the answer to that, but for any basic or layman out on the street, you can't really tell as to why we don't have an independent electoral boundaries commission that's in place in case we need an election to be done.
We actually have some members of parliament who were actually appointed.
Just to contradict what you're saying a little bit, I believe there is constituencies without representation because of the current situation. And the constituencies of the regions without representation, that's a very grave and weighty thing because Article 1 of the Constitution speaks about sovereignty of the people. Sovereignty of the people can be exercised either directly or indirectly through representation. The indirect route is where you choose your MCA, your MP, your senator, your governor, your president. But here you find a constituency without, for example, a member of parliament. And therefore, these people in that constituency or region are denied the dictates that are enshrined within Article 1. And therefore, we have a government that is day in, day out, desecrating on the Constitution of Kenya, is not in line with the rule of law, and do not act whatsoever with the spirit and intentions of the framers of the Constitution of Kenya.
Interesting.
Yes.
We are trying to break it down and just take a look on basically what awaits the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We do understand that the numbers are not in his favor, but is he likely to survive the entire impeachment motion that will be tabled against him, that is tomorrow? And how well can he defend himself before members of parliament and convince them? Indeed, the companies, I've had him read over 15 companies registered in different years from 1990s to 2021. Some, he says, are registered under his son's name, and none of the companies registered under his son's names were actually have ever traded with the government. And he says that a number of those companies are actually don't trade with the government. All these are issues that we are waiting to see how he will put forth proof to show that each and every cent that he received through the companies were not from the government, or rather the allegations don't touch on him directly. That is an interesting bit right there. But a quick one as we wind up. What would be your take home with regards to the entire issue of impeachment and the expectations as an individual? What do you expect, and what do you Kenyans generally paint a picture of how tomorrow will be?
First of all, I'll want to refrain myself from speculation. Being a lawyer, there is the doctrine of sub judice. And though the National Assembly is not a court of law, but the matter is still live within the National Assembly. So I will not want to speculate, but give my analysis and opinions. With regards to the impeachment motion of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, as I had stated earlier, it's a very weighty issue. It is the first impeachment motion against a sitting Deputy President in the history of Kenya. That being said, we are yet to see how our National Assembly members of Parliament will conduct themselves, number one. We had to watch how they are gonna debate within the House and how they are gonna vote. That being said, is that the impeachment of the deputy president as of right now does not carry any water whatsoever, because it does not help the common mwananchi on the ground. And what I mean is that look at the current economic state within our country. I was a part litigant of the case that Okiya Omtata filed, the Finance Act 2023. We won at the High Court level. We won at the Court of Appeal level. And the Court of Appeal threw out the entire Finance Act 2023. Within the Finance Act 2023, we had proposals of VAT increment from 8% to 16%. But as it stands right now, VAT has not been reduced, yet we have an active court order stating that the entire Finance Act 2023 is null and void. We have very serious and weighty issues, being that the government of the day is a contempt of court orders. That's number one. Number two, the government of the day lacks accountability. We have a cabinet secretary in charge of interior who purports not to know that abductions are ongoing. And we have civil rights activists taking their petition to the Inspector General so that he can then inform the president, who had quote unquote said he's not aware of any missing person. Number three, look at our economy, look at the state of the nation. I remember when the president was issuing his State of the Nation address in the National Assembly, Senator Edwin Sifuna never attended it because it was a State of the Nation, and a State of the Nation is the state of the people. What state are our people, those in mashinani and urban areas? Look at our roads, if I may ask you. There have been a lot of road carnages. The deputy president or the president of this republic have never uttered a word. Instead, we see them day in, day out, week in, week out on campaign trails, on top of sunroofs, in churches, on barazas. And because they do not want to serve the people of Kenya, either negligently or willfully, they want to be busy. And they are engaging their efforts and energies on non-issues. And if it were up to me, I would recommend both of them go home, starting with the President of the Republic of Kenya. But you know that's a long call. Yes. And I do not want to harbor delusions of grandeur and say that both of them will go home. But as it stands currently, the Deputy President's goose is cooked. Yes.
That right there is Blair Angima, a lawyer and also a public interest litigator who's been helping us understand basically the grounds that Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is currently standing on and how his fate might look like. His take home is basically simple. We are all waiting to see how members of parliament will conduct themselves during the entire impeachment motion in less than 24 hours from now. Well, from us right here at Hope TV, many thanks for making sure you tuned in the Dialogue KE. And to our guest, many thanks for joining us. Many thanks for your insights. To you, our audience, do have a lovely night. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.